Yo, what up? You watching Hip Hop Made Me Do It. It's Remy Banks. I'm out here in Amherst, Massachusetts. My man Pistol P got me out here smoked out. Remy Banks, we out here. Peace.
Word to Ego, I'm the freshest out. I with my partners, cheap and ganja, but a larger amount. Step in the spot, my nigga get live, shot me up. Hit the cut to roll up again, you know what I'm about. I'm probably higher than everybody up in here. I'm crossfaded, any in my system I can't see clear.
DJ Toasty Z, Hip Hop Made Me Do It. You already know.
Yo.
We're chilling in Amherst at Amherst College with Remy Banks, the one and only Remy Banks. How you doing today?
I'm excellent. I'm doing swell.
For sure. Have you ever been out in Amherst?
Actually, we performed right there on that lawn in like 2014. Well, it was a World's Fair show. It was us and Speedy Ortiz. It was pretty chill. It was ill.
That's an interesting combo.
Yeah, it was dope. I loved them.
Yeah.
I literally was blown away watching their performance. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, we got a lot of low-key local talent out here.
Yeah.
So looking forward to your performance today. What can we expect from that?
Do some new stuff, some old stuff, in between stuff, but it's just gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Now, for people that don't know, if you had to say, who is Remy Banks?
Remy Banks is your neighborhood friendly, weed smoking, cool cat. That's who I am.
For sure. And if you had to describe your music to someone that hasn't heard it before, what would you say?
I'll say it's some real shit.
Real shit. For sure.
I rap about what I live about. So yeah, it's some real shit.
What would you say like the focus of your music is? Like you said, real shit, but like what kind of things do you touch on?
Well, I touch on, like I said, like my everyday life, like things I go through, things I've been through, things I hope to achieve, in hopes to inspire people to, drive and keep their drive going and keep their goals, ahead of them, and hopefully they can achieve it. I'll show them that, staying on the grind, you can do what it do.
For sure. Now, like I said, you're part of the World's Fair Collective with some great artists. I'm very familiar with Nasty Nigel and Black Noise. I'm curious, what would you say like a World's Fair is about?
World's Fair is basically just what Queens is about. It's the melting pot of rap, just like Queens is the melting pot of, diversity, which is in New York, because we have so many ethnicities living in within Queens is literally the melting pot of New York. And if you look at World's Fair, we're all different ethnicities, and we all have our own little skill and talent that we bring to the table that create this big conglomerate of ill shit.
For sure. And how'd you guys end up connecting and coming together?
Well, we all known each other for a while. Like I've known Cody since high school. I've known Nigel Lansky since high school, even though we went to different schools. Mm-hmm. I knew Jeff from MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace.
DJ Thorpe I met same through MySpace. Prince, I met Prince when he came back from college. He went to college down in Florida, and he came back up in 2010. And that's when I met Prince. 2009, 2010, sometime around.
Okay, word. And I'm also curious, coming from New York, I've talked to a lot of artists, Topprraaa, I don't know if you know Richie Beans.
Shout out to my nigga E-Man, shout out to Zar.
Yeah, he's
the
man.
Jaguar.
We gotta get I've been talking to Cal about getting
we gotta get this a real show going.
Yeah. For sure. So I was just curious about, like I said, I've talked to a lot of New York artists. I'm curious what your take on the New York scene is.
Ooh, my take on the New York scene. Well, basically, there's a lot of talent that's being slept on right now.
Yeah.
Because basically everybody's trying to pigeonhole New York into this we don't want that boom bap backpack. But there's a lot of progressive hip hop that's still alive and moving, but people are just overlooking it for people that are conforming to the Southern sound.
Yeah.
But in due time.
For sure. And I think that I'm talking to some artists that say, there's a bit of exclusivity in New York where everyone's kind of doing their own thing, but you need to kind of make a name for yourself before you kind of get that people start fucking with you. Yeah,
that's everywhere. But in New York, it's just harder. You know what I mean? It's harder for people in your own city to fuck with you.
Yeah.
for some reason in New York it just happens to be that way. Like people, I can go to London and you know, like sell out a show before I can sell out a show in my own city, but that changed.
Yeah, for sure.
That changed, but that was like a few years ago. But I find it, you know, hard for other artists that I see in the city, like, to sell out shows, but they can go to another city and sell out a crazy venue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think even, like, especially, like, you have cities like Atlanta where the radio is really behind them and playing their stuff.
Yeah, they're very supportive of
New York,
their artists.
They're very,
same with London. They're very supportive of their artists. But in New York, it's like we rather support somebody else from elsewhere before we support our own. Until they blow up elsewhere, and then we want to show love.
Then you claim them.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
crazy.
oh.
But it be that way.
Oh. Let me just pull this up. So, I'm also curious, do you think, I know obviously with hip-hop there's been a bit of a borough rivalry. Do you think that's still alive? Do you think there's a little bit of a rivalry of, like, people, you know, between boroughs when it comes to hip-hop?
To be honest, there's a lot of love now. I feel like it's way more unified now than it was back in the day. But also, it was unified back in the day, too. Like, everybody was doing their thing. Like, you got pictures. You see Nas with Big L uptown in Harlem. Like, Nas and Huddy Six and Big L. Like, it was a lot of camaraderie throughout the boroughs back then. And now I feel like it's just more amplified.
For sure. And, like I said, you're from Queens. I'm curious how Queens has affected not only you, but your music.
Well, like I said earlier, Queens is the melting pot. I grew up around so many different types of people, different types of races. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of that is influenced in my music. Like, you hear it in my music. Like, stories I tell, just my cadence, some of my flows will sound like I'm speaking Spanish, you know what I mean? But I'm not. And all of that is just because of where I grew up.
For sure. And I'm curious, which of the New York legends and artists, you know, there's a lot of artists that come out of New York, and I'm curious which ones really influenced you, biggest influences.
Man, Nas, Jay, Ray, Ghost, the whole Wu-Tang basically. Mos Def, Talib, yo, it's so many, yo. Like, and then you got my, like, oh my God, yo, Boot Camp Clique, like everybody in Boot Camp Clique, like AZ. You know, you got Mobb Deep, of course, rest in peace, Prodigy. It's too many to name.
Yeah, for sure.
And I grew up in that era, so, you know, like, I remember when Lost Boys, like popped in Queens, like, they from Southside. Like, I remember when they popped. I was, like, 7 years old, but for the borough, that was so crazy. Like,
definitely.
It was just like when G-Unit dropped. Like, G-Unit was a big impact, you know, on my career as well.
For
So,
sure.
Dipset, like, too many to name, yo. So many.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people have an outsider's perspective on that, but to be in the city and experience that as you're growing up, you're living it. Yeah. And I saw that you actually have actually had the opportunity to open up for Nas in the past. I'm curious, like, what that was like.
That was crazy. That was in London. That was actually, like, my first show in London, and it was to open up for Nas. It was a free show, sold out at a historic venue out there called the 100 Club. And it was, I forgot who else was on that. Oh, it was Speech the Bell. This dude, Kano, who's like a legend out there. Like, Kano is a fucking legend. And Nas, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was one of those legendary nights, like, to open up for them. It was a great show. The people actually did their research and, you know, were singing our music back to us. That shit was dope. It was fun.
That's awesome. I'm also curious, like, for people that don't know, who are you really fucking with out of New York? Who's next out of New York that people don't know about that they should know about?
My homie Wiki, of course.
Of course.
It's a couple members of the ASAP mob that, you know, are doing their thing right now. My man 12E, Nas doing his thing. Then you got my man Shahef, he's ill. My man Mike, he got this crew called Slums. They from the Bronx. Man, my dude Madani. It's a lot. My man Bam still doing his Zombies, killing it.
Yeah.
Fucking UA still killing it. Like, XY is still killing it. Like, there's a lot of talent. And you got some females that are doing their thing too. This chick named Letitia, I just heard of. She's so ill. She's from Brooklyn. She's dope. Like, awesome. Real dope. This girl Dominique, she's dope. Like, New York is moving on the low. Like, really on the low.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was reading that, I don't know if you're still doing as much skating, but I heard that you used to, you did a bit of skating.
Yeah, I used to skate back in the day. I still skate from time to time.
Awesome.
Whenever I'm, riding around. When I was on tour with Earl, the fucking Awesome team was with us. Mm-hmm. So, they hooked me up with a board. I set it up, and like I would go ride with them whenever they would go get their footage, and we had a day off. I would go skate with them and whatnot. And yeah, it's fun. It's still a part of my life.
Yeah, and I think I've talked with a couple different artists that are skaters as well as rappers, and I like Richie Beans. He's from Queens, and we were talking about him, and like Black Dave, who's used to be he's still a skater, but he's starting to rap now. First. Yeah, skater first, but he's starting to rap now. And I was just thinking it's interesting that the skating world and the rap world are pretty intertwined. And one thing that he said that really stood out to me, he's like, skaters can do anything. We're just talking about Black Dave being able to become a hip hop artist, and I think there's
once you're skating, you're already in the world.
Yeah,
you're just in the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of resilience to that I think holds true to the hip hop game as well. So you've performed with a lot of great artists and worked with a lot of great artists. I'm curious who your favorites have been to work with.
So many. Everybody. All my homies are my favorite.
Yeah.
All my homies are my favorite. But Black Noise is my favorite. Obviously, that's my producer. So obviously, he's my favorite person.
Yeah. Black Noise is fire.
My homie No Life, my other favorite person to work with. Budgie, my other favorite person to work with. Like it's just what it is.
It's all just
And in my clique.
Damn. Now, just to wrap up, I'm curious, do you have any upcoming projects in the works? What can we expect from you in the future? What do you got brewing?
Well, Champ Hoodie Music Episode 1 is out right now. Champ Hoodie Music Episode 2 is on the way. World's Fair the World's Fair debut album is on the way. And I got some other, stuff up my sleeve, for next year.
All right, word. So, glad to hear it. Well, once again, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with me.
Shout out to you, man. Amherst, we out here.
You already know.
In this motherfucker, so I kicked the door down, smoked it out. What's the deal? Where we at, nigga?
It's like they afraid of the real.
What's good, Amherst? What's poppin'? How y'all doing, man? We out here rapping. Y'all can. How y'all doing? What you like? How y'all doing? How y'all feel? Y'all over there like? Y'all ain't mute. We out here.
Oh, I don't do dabs, no. That would fuck me up heavy.
See, niggas know.